Hi, my name is Mike McKay, and I am giving this presentation of the Generalized Anxiety Disorder Pre-Screening Exam. This is for class HSC 327 Psych Test and Measurement for Professor Don Karlovsky. The purpose of this exam will be to be used as a pre-screening exam for generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD. I've been referring to it as GAD, so that's probably how I will say it throughout this presentation. Um, Individuals who take this test will be provided with a score to indicate whether they may be suffering from generalized anxiety disorder, and they may wish to consider seeking professional diagnosis and treatment. The test will be used for clients by psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors, and other medical professionals, or by the individuals themselves who believe they may be suffering from GAD. The audience that this exam is intended for is anyone 13 years of age or older who feels that they may be suffering from an anxiety disorder or is specifically concerned about generalized anxiety disorder. The exam questions are race and gender neutral, and the current version can be properly answered by English-speaking individuals in the United States. Um, this outlines the role of the assessor in the exam. This particular exam can be either self-administered or administered by a professional clinician. So the administrator should ensure a quiet environment free from external distractions. The exam should also be taken at a time when the individual is not rushed or feeling pressured by an external time constraint. Because the test has no time requirements, so a time limit should not be placed on the exam. Whether or not the exam is self-administered or administered by a third party, both the assessor and the examinee should carefully read and follow the test's instructions. There is a full set of directions, both for administering the exam and taking the exam, that are outlined along with the sample test questions that have been submitted to the Dropbox, but then are also placed in a link along with this video. So the theoretical foundations that this exam is built off of, I started here with the definition of anxiety, and this was as it was outlined in the Psych Test and Measurement textbook from this class. It states that anxiety is an emotional state marked by worry, apprehension, and tension. The DSM-5 describes generalized anxiety disorder as excessive anxiety and worry about a number of events or activities where the intensity, duration, or frequency of the anxiety and worry is out of proportion to the actual likelihood or impact of the anticipated event. So the GAD pre-screening exam uses test items that correlate with GAD symptoms and diagnostic criteria listed in the DSM-5. So by doing this, this helped to ensure that the items are measuring valid and relevant criteria. On the next slide here, I have the outline as it's given in the DSM-5 for generalized anxiety disorder. It lists a number of symptoms, and it gives the requirements for how long these symptoms have to be present. In this case, this list of symptoms, there has to be at least 3 present for more days than not within the past 6 months. The symptoms have to cause clinically significant distress or impairment in a variety of work or life scenarios. It can't be attributable to the use of another or effects from using another substance, and the disturbance cannot be better explained by another mental disorder if it is generalized anxiety disorder. So on the following slide here, it continues. The additional information that was used in developing test items were some other things that were listed in the DSM-5. So again, it says that adults with GAD tend to worry about everyday routine circumstances from a variety of different areas in life or work. And compared to everyday worries, these are some of the things that differentiate it with generalized anxiety disorder. So the worries are excessive. They often interfere significantly with psychosocial functioning. They're more pervasive. They have longer duration. They occur without precipitants, and they involve a greater range of life circumstances and are more likely to be accompanied by physical symptoms. So that's what makes generalized anxiety different from everyday worries that somebody might be experiencing. So the limitations of this exam. The test is a pre-screening tool, and it is not intended for diagnosing a disorder. The results of this test merely provide a suggestion as to the probability of the presence of GAD, and this test should be followed up by a professional clinical diagnosis. Potential controversy or harm. This test could create controversy due to the test items used, where some individuals or researchers feel that the test questions do not adequately address the presence of GAD. Potential harm could come from people taking the test and mislabeling themselves as either having or not having GAD without seeking a professional diagnosis. If the exam underestimates the presence of GAD, people who receive a score showing no presence of GAD but may in fact suffer from it and would benefit from treatment may not seek further professional help based on the test results. Maintaining validity and reliability for this exam. So one of the ways to maintain validity and reliability would be through yearly reliability studies, which would involve resampling of the population for norming results. Test items could be reassessed yearly for reliability through factor analysis, and the questions would be updated and changed as needed to ensure criterion-related validity and convergent evidence. In this case, as the information in the DSM-5 changes, or the DSM-5 would become the DSM-6, or however that would be updated, then the information or the test questions would be reevaluated to make sure that they correspond with the criteria in the DSM. So here are some of the foundations for the regarding the validity and reliability. Tests that are relatively free of measurement error are considered to be reliable, and that was also from the psych test and measurement textbook. Factor analysis can be used to ensure that test items are consistently measuring the same construct. So discriminability analysis can also be used to examine the correlation between each item and the test score in order to ensure the relevance of each item. Criterion-related evidence reveals how well a test corresponds with a particular criterion. And in this case, the criterion are the symptoms of GAD as outlined in the DSM-5, and the correlation of test results to the professional diagnosis of GAD. From a biblical perspective, these verses here I selected, and they are in regard to anxiety and worry and fear. So the first one I chose was Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. The other one I chose was 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And then I liked the one that was in the picture there. Cast your burden on the Lord, and he shall sustain you. So all three of those speak to anxiety and worry, and to continue to pray and to seek God for peace. And here are the references that were used for the presentation. So thank you for watching, whoever has, and goodbye.